G'day folks, welcome back to another review. I thought I'd do this one while I do a bit of exercise. Finally the dismal weather's broken for the time being. Sun's come out late afternoon, so I thought I'd incorporate a bit of exercise with a book review. Today I'm going to be talking about Jeff Abbott's book, Fear. But before I do that, I just want to mention another book I read just prior to that, Anne Tyler's The Tin Can Tree. It's only 200 pages long, it's not very long at all. I think it's the fourth Anne Tyler book I've read, and it didn't disappoint at all. Great little book, set in a little town, vintage days, simple people, simple conversations, but it's a simple story. Not a great deal happens, but it's just done so well. Let me read you the back. It says, when young Janie Pike dies in a tragic accident and leaves behind a family numbed with grief and torn with guilt and recrimination, in this compassionate and haunting novel by Anne Tyler explores how each member of the family learns to face the future in their own way. The little blurb from the New York Times: some novelists never learn how to write good fiction. Others seem to be born knowing how. Anne Tyler is one of these. Her touch is deft, her perception keen, her ear for speech phenomenal. Her people are triumphantly alive. And the other one from the Sunday Telegraph says, Miss Tyler is a writer whose specific gift is to convey the richness, strangeness and unpredictability of seemingly everyday lives. She's a wholly individual writer and one of considerable stature. That's pretty true. I agree with both of those things. Sometimes I'm a bit hard on the critics, but spot on. Yeah, simple people set in a simpler time. It's just one of those nice stories, you know? Anyway, the characters are all good. We've got a niece looking after the mum, or staying with the parents of the deceased girl and their little son. The son feels like he's overlooked all the time. Feels like his parents don't really care about him. So he's itching to sort of maybe get away from the place and likes to talk to the niece, Joan, and her boyfriend, James, about maybe disappearing. That's one little story. There's other stories, of course, amongst other relationships. Joan and her boyfriend, James. It's a bit of a strained relationship, and it's strained because of James's brother, Ansel. And he's got an affliction of body and mind, and he can be a bit exhausting to listen to because he loves to talk. And he just goes on and on. He's one of those people like, oh God, would you just shut up? He's a frustrating character, but I like that. I've mentioned that before. I like characters and situations that make me emotional in different ways, whether it be angry, frustrated, whatever. And talking about frustration, the conversations are simple, and simple language and old language, you know, like the old I declare and all that sort of stuff. And the language and the conversations, I should say, can be a bit exhausting because they seem to talk but not getting anywhere because of the strain in the relationship. And when I listen to them in accents I've probably picked up from watching a lot of movies and TV and etc. So I hear them in those voices. It's a really good story, not long as I said, easy to read, great characters, really engaging, captivating, simple, and just quite different to the book that I'm about to tell you about. So it's another one by Anne Tyler that I'd recommend, especially if you just want a quick read. So let's get on to The Fear by Jeff Abbott. Let me read you the back, might be easier for a start. So Miles Kendrick is in a witness protection program, hiding from the mob and constantly haunted by his best friend's death. With the aid of psychiatrist Alison Vance, Miles is trying to hold on to his sanity and to recall the events of that tragic night. But when Alison is blown to pieces by a bomb planted in her office, Miles becomes caught up in a deadly conspiracy beyond his worst nightmares. Targeted by Dennis Groot, a deranged FBI agent, Miles must run for his life and force himself to remember the terrible truth about the death of his best friend. It's mentioned on the back here, a gripping breakneck-paced thriller. Fear will not let you go until the last bullet flies. I like how they write these things sometimes. Sometimes I roll my eyes at them. But this time, I was quite impressed with this book. Yeah, so Jeff Abbott, born in 1963, initially a creative director at an ad agency. He's gone on to become a novelist down in Texas. He's written a few books. He's written about 8 standalone books. This is one. And then he's written 3 other series of books. And Each of those series is about 3 to 6 books in length. So Fear isn't one of his first books, and I found this in a $2 bin as usual. So the way this book started, I will say that it started like your typical Hollywood action thriller, which I'm not the biggest fan of, especially in books. Movies, I don't know, they get away with it a bit more. But in books, it's like they're trying too hard, the authors. So when I started this book, I sort of rolled my eyes a couple of times. I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. It was only $2 and it kept my interest, so I kept reading it, flipping the pages. But lo and behold, I really got captivated by it. And soon I was turning the pages quite quickly and I couldn't stop reading it. So I've got to give credit to Jeff Abbott. He's done a good job in getting the story pacey, a lot of action, not bad dialogue. The scenes are pretty good. You can picture all those. Action-packed for sure. So if you like that sort of, well, what would I think of? Bruce Willis Die Hard sort of stuff, you'll probably love this. It's obviously quite a contrast to the Ann Tyler book. But I like that, going from one type of book to another. It keeps you out of a rut anyway. So nicely descriptive, this book. For example, lines like a fiery fist raised towards the sky. Now you can quite picture that after a bomb exploded in a building. You know how the shape of those bombs as they go up, and it does look like a fiery fist. And there's a whole bunch of scenes throughout the book that you can picture quite well. He does a brilliant job, Jeff Abbott. I'll give him credit for that. The chapters were short, which I like. Makes it easy to stop and pause, like on a video. Sometimes you just got to pause and continue on the next day. But they're good pacey chapters as well. The book was so gripping that I couldn't even stop reading it when I went onto a treadmill. I was on the treadmill for over an hour reading this book and seemed to make the time of the treadmill go quick too, which is good. I kept trying to guess where the story was going to go. It's hard because writers can just suddenly put in any twist they want. So in real life you might think, that wouldn't happen, or what's going on here, or that person would do that. Well, in a book or a movie, as you know, plot twists happen all the time. And this isn't without them. There was definitely surprises, which I wasn't prepared for. I sort of had an idea how some things might go, but when I got towards the end of the book and I realised there's not too many pages left here, what's going to happen here? How's this going to end now? And yeah, that was a big surprise, and I'm not going to blow that. But I definitely read another of Jeff Abbott's books. What I was surprised though, there's no movies of this book. There actually is movies called Fear. I think there's about 3 different movies called Fear in the 2000s that were made. One's an acronym, and yeah, none of them related to this story whatsoever. So I'm not going to say too much about this book, although there was a good cast of characters, and you sort of had to keep your finger on the pulse, so to speak, keep up with who's where and who's what, and I did reasonably well. Sometimes I get confused. So there's not much more else to say. I haven't really got anything negative to say about it. There was probably one moment where, just for a moment, I got confused because there was a section about a motorcycle chasing a car that Miles was in and some others, and this motorcyclist was after them, trying to shoot them down. And then it started talking about a cyclist, and then I thought, oh, hang on. I thought that was another person, but it was actually referring to the cyclist as the motorcyclist. And I've never really seen that before. I don't know why you wouldn't use the term biker, but to say cyclist, if you say cyclist, everybody thinks of bicycles, don't they? So I thought that was an odd thing to say. Apart from that, I couldn't really bag the book in any other way, really. It was well written, good story, pacey. Characters were good, not real twists, but there was a couple of things that were unexpected. And with all the thrilling action that was happening, there was also some comedic scenes as well. Miles Kendrick, because of some trauma that he had, which does get explained in the book, he keeps visualising Andy. Andy's a guy that got killed, and he felt that basically killed Andy, was the cause of his death, and that was the trauma that he was seeing the psychiatrist Alison Vance about. Now the funny thing with Andy, he keeps appearing to Miles in all these situations, and we've seen that sort of thing in movies like American Werewolf in London. Yeah, seeing your dead friend appear and arguing with you, trying to get you to do stuff. But there's one really funny bit in the story. This is a spoiler. I just found it funny because Miles was worried that at any moment he could be killed by the mob, and so he was worried when he was going into a car and he had to start up the engine. Andy's there just talking away, and Miles turns the key on the car and Andy says kaboom. And I read that and I thought it was really funny. So, and it would have been a funny scene in a film. And that's why I think the book actually would make a pretty good film. I'm surprised it actually isn't a film. So the book's got some good aspects like that. It's got some really good chase scenes, very dramatic moments, tense situations. So if you like that real thrilling action type of story, I think you'll really like Fear by Jeff Abbott. So that's my take on the book. Certainly recommend it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. She is wholly individual. She's a wholly individual. Can't even talk. So about page 318, it's really becoming one of those Hollywood blockbusters. They're fucking bastards. Is there anything I forgot? Pretty much said it all.